All right. Hey, how you doing, Micah?
Awesome, Chris. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, let's launch this. We're gonna go live on YouTube as well. So YouTube Live, it's gonna push out there. So anybody who wants to connect via YouTube Live, it's gonna stream there. It's going live right now, and then we'll also go out to Facebook Live in just a second. So let me start that process. Um, and to Facebook Live in just a second. So let me start that process. I don't want to listen to that, do I? How you doing today, Micah?
Great, Chris. Nice wintry day in Syracuse, New York.
Excellent. It's wintry here in Southern California. It's rainy and about 50, and apparently people are walking around in long coats and looking like they're in Siberia.
Or Syracuse, where it's 16 and snowy. Yeah.
That's where that's how we handle winter here. It doesn't get very cold, and if we want winter, we go other places.
There you go. That's probably smart.
So we're going to kick off our webinar on applied digital skills today. Let me pull up that chat button so that I can see everything that's going on here. Once we have attendees joining us, we definitely want to make sure that people have any questions, use the Q&A feature. But let's go ahead and check in with everyone. Where's everybody joining us from today? Those are participants that are joining us. We've got a few other people here. We've got Bradley and Nikki right now. Where are you joining us from? Go ahead and answer in the chat on the side panel. Lugoff, South Carolina. Welcome.
Sweet.
We have our good buddy Chris Kraft with EdTechTeam here. That is South Carolina. Beautiful state. I visited for the first time last year. And let's see, who else? Who else we got there? Oh, awesome. We got two people from Lugoff. Okay, excellent. Well, good to see. It's good to have you join us. We'll have more people joining us, I'm sure. But we're going to go ahead and get started here and kick this off. The resources for today's webinar are located at the URL below, which is edtech.team /AppSki December 5th. And let me drop that into our chat here so you can not have to. edtech.team. I'll get that there so that you don't have to actually type it yourself. I'll do that once for you. And there's our resource notes. And that'll also include a couple of things that I'll highlight in just a moment. So you'll get this same slide deck and links to a bunch of different things. We'll also be sharing some resources from Micah, or Dr. Shippee, as he sometimes is known to be called. What are your other nicknames from Starbucks cups?
Micah, Miach, Mitchell, Mitch, Michael.
He's got a great Google photo album with all of the misspellings of his name. So we'll go ahead and kick this off. Excellent. So session resources, again, are located at that URL, edtech.team /AppSki December 5th. There's a link to a form. So if you complete that form, you're going to have a chance to win prizes at the end of this. So we'll be giving away some online courses from EdTechTeam, but also potentially some books and other fun things from our publishing division. So I'll go ahead and move on. Myself, I'm Chris Bell, Chief Operating Officer with EdTechTeam, based here in Southern California. On Twitter, I'm at cbell619. If you're anyone who's attending on the chat, please drop your Twitter handle if you're active on Twitter, and we can be sure to follow you. I have with us Micah Shippee, PhD, also known as Dr. Shippee. He's a social studies teacher in middle school in Syracuse, New York, and you can follow Dr. Shippee at Micah Shippee. Any other places you want to plug other than Twitter? I'm also on Instagram.
I have a few blog posts that might be beneficial. My blog post is at micahshippee.com.
Mike, I'm going to drop that in there. My HTTP, micahshippee.com. How's that? Let's hope that works.
Yep.
No www. Skipped it.
W should work, yeah.
Yeah, either way. All right, so we're going to go ahead and kick this off. I'm a big Dodger fan. Gonna go on, and I asked him, Mr. Micah, to share his favorite Bitmoji with me, and this is his representation. So we do love our Bitmojis.
Yes, oh yeah, indubitably.
It makes anything fun, honestly. I don't know how you don't make it fun with a Bitmoji. So today we're going to be talking about applied digital skills, and I guess one thing I'd like to throw out is a poll right now. Just a quick poll, and you should see it on your screen. And they're just two quick questions to let us know who is in the audience right now. So which grade level do you teach? It's not science, it should say social studies. That's my error, I overlooked that, so we'll assume it's social studies or other things. Go ahead and complete that quick poll. Excellent, excellent. So we got a lot of middle school represented today. This is fantastic. All right, excellent. And that's, the sweet spot for applied digital skills, really, when we look at the curriculum. So with that, what we're going to do is just kind of a quick rundown on what applied digital skills is and what it is. And then we're going to have some questions for Dr. Shippee and get his experience on integrating it into the social studies classroom. Previous webinars, we've explored the science classroom, language arts, upper elementary, supporting second language learners with it. So we've got a lot of different ways we can ultimately utilize applied digital skills. But at heart, it is a free video-based and online curriculum from Google that can be used in a blended environment in any capacity. It's designed to support development of basic digital skills for students, typically from upper elementary all the way to adult learners. And so they really interact through project-based activities to develop a variety of skill sets. So with that, you learn through projects. So they learn how to plan a dream vacation and learn spreadsheet formulas through that process. Years ago, I used to do these types of activities in my own class, but now it's all packaged and nice and convenient for us to be able to do it in one place. Producing a blockbuster movie, but also learning document formatting and graphic design. If anybody remembers MySpace out there, graphic design was not most people's forte. In fact, I remember going onto MySpace and you get shocked and flashing, and if you had some sort if you had epilepsy, you might be put into an epileptic fit because those pages were pretty flashy. Pretty crazy. So one thing that's great is teaching students some of the basics of graphic design at an early age. But also being able to teach coding while at the same time editing some writing. So that in one of these projects, students are able to learn how to utilize JavaScript for developing some code that they run right on top of Google Docs. So it's a great, fantastic resource in that capacity. Again, it's project-based, and it's really built with the students in mind. It's designed to support all learners. The videos are constructed so that students can slow the video speed down, speed it up. They have transcripts, they have captions, they can pause it, they can rewind it, they can fast forward it. They can never do that in my class when I'm teaching, when I was in the classroom. And that's really supports that individual personalized learning environment that we ultimately strive for. There are well over 120 hours of lessons and a variety of different units, and allows them to learn either through individually or in small groups. And so there's lots of ways to flex this curriculum to support different outcomes that you're after in the classroom. So with that, some of the curriculum or the skill sets that are developed through this is obviously a focus on coding and spreadsheets, which I mentioned before. Data visualization, so really taking a look at spreadsheets and graphing data, obviously a skill set. Science, social studies, I mean, you name it, there's an application for that. Graphic design, website publishing, doc formatting, really being able to conduct quality internet searches, file organization, which everybody can use, and then practical life skills of that list on the side there. And when we look at those things, most of the time we don't have the opportunity to teach those in a holistic fashion, especially when we're honing in on social studies, for example. So this is a way for us to support students in a very unique and different way. The curriculum is free. It is from Google. It is flexible, and it's very, very ready to utilize. It's good to go. You can start automatically and get going right now. In fact, if you were not on this webinar, you could get started right this second and start creating a class and getting going. So each lesson or each lesson unit within a lesson comes with teacher lesson plans that's broken down with learning objectives and all the things that need to be known ahead of time, expected duration, and then it breaks down each individual lesson within a unit. So it's a really robust curriculum. And you don't have to know everything in order to utilize it. And I think that's an important thing to note, because sometimes we want to know how to do everything related to technology, and sometimes we can just move forward without that. So it is aligned to the ISTE standards. It's an important thing to note as well. The Google for Education team and the Grow with Google team has spent time aligning to it, not only ISTE standards, but to state standards. And what's fantastic about that is that you're able to sort and sift based upon a standard you might be looking to connect something to, or to see where it all fits in. There's also CTE standards and library standards, so a variety of different standards to work against. So here's an example of one of the lessons, If Then Adventure Stories, and basically teaching branch logic in Google Slides. It's always a great starter activity lesson, a perfect one for right now as we lead up into winter break, so that students could be working on an activity related to anything in your content area. Technology's roles in current events. And remember, these are the ones that Google is framing it as the topic, but as you'll see from Dr. Shippee here in just a moment, we're gonna see some examples of ultimately how you can remix this content to make it really, really applicable to your content area. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip through those. You all can check those out afterwards. But what I'd like to do is pass this over to Dr. Shippee and have him share about how he's been utilizing things in his classroom. But I guess the first question that I have for you today, totally off topic, so pardon me for that. But what are 3 things that you've achieved that have surprised you?
3 things that I've achieved that have surprised me.
Yes, this is us getting to know you.
Okay, so my PhD was a surprise, I think. Probably the hardest thing I ever did, and I've in life never much of a student, so always viewed that as a high-level academic success. What I learned, it was about grit and vigor. It's perseverance.
Yeah.
What else have I achieved? 19 years in the classroom. I did not think I would last this long.
Wow.
Bumpy road at times, not just in life. Had career goals that thought I'd be doing something else, and for many reasons, including just enjoying what I'm doing, I've stayed in the classroom.
Incidentally, on that note, what did you actually study when you were in college?
I started out as a math science major for 1 year, and then I got my head screwed on right and switched to humanities.
Perfect.
I have a bachelor's in European history, social studies, a master's in curriculum instruction, and my PhD's in an area called instructional design, development, and evaluation. And it's all about leveraging technology to achieve instructional goals.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
My third thing, I'm still working on the third one, but I'm so happy to be a dad of 3 kids. So I think I'll say I'm proud of that in another 30 years, maybe if I keep going on the rate we're going. I think things are going to be okay.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Well, with that, I guess the first question then I really have for you that's on topic is, you teach social studies in middle school, and this curriculum isn't specifically part of your content area in most cases when you look at it. So what made you decide to try using this in your classroom?
Well, honestly, I'm a humanities person. I'm a bit of a geek and a nerd, but sometimes I have to fix my dishwasher and my washing machine. So I go on YouTube and I follow the directions and I rewind it and slow it down and I use closed captioning. And I ask people, how do you fix things? And I keep hearing the same story. So in thinking about my classroom, I'm thinking, well, I'm teaching early American history. The content is my focus, but how can I also integrate some life skills and some following directions other than those provided by the teacher? That and the things I was hearing from some colleagues about applied digital skills seem to be a real match in preparing my students for their future, which is a little bit different than how I prepared myself when I was their age.
So good. That's excellent. Excellent. So now that you've tried it in your classroom, how have your students responded to it?
Very positive. Very positive. I have 5 sections of grade 8 social studies. 2 of those sections are integrated with 15-to-1 students with IEPs. So I have heterogeneous groupings all day long. I have students who need me to be on one knee next to their desk helping them, and I need other students who need me to give them 10 more things to do because they're already done.
Mm-hmm.
So the applied digital skills has allowed me to remove myself from the front of the room and join my students in a coaching manner, which has really supported a more of a one-to-one, significantly more intimate learning experience. I've had students leave the room saying, I wish we could do this every day. I'm not making that up. I'm like, really? 19 years and now you're saying it? So it's been very positive, very well received.
Excellent. All right. So with that, why don't you go ahead and share with us some of the ways you've kind of remixed things for your classroom?
Sure. So yeah, I've done things a little differently, but I think the way I'd like to speak about them today is in progressive geekiness. So one of the simplest things I did was I used the resume activity on applied digital skills 1 month ago.
Okay.
And the resume I did, I told my students, follow the directions, and I want you to make a resume all about yourself. And they're like, oh, all right, all about myself. So I said, all right, including like your skills. If you need to put your Fortnite rankings down for skills, fine. Tell what you can. So they went through, and kids were like, well, one student, I learned a lot about him. One student said, I volunteered at a soup kitchen because my mom wanted me to teach me about being grateful. And I'm like, wow, your mom's an all-star. And so, she's adding it as life experience on her resume. The purpose of doing it, I didn't quite explain to the students at first, but they did their own resume. And then I said, okay, we're learning about Teddy Roosevelt in this unit. So my way of pre-teaching Teddy Roosevelt was, you make a resume about yourself, and now with a partner, you're going to make one about Teddy Roosevelt. So they made a Teddy Roosevelt resume, which was predictive for the unit that we're studying presently, and it allowed them to compare and contrast. And I found that when they thought about themselves and their education, their experience, and their biographical information, they started to understand a little bit more about what I was asking them to learn about Teddy Roosevelt. And I think in terms of student reflection, it's very positive to have students compare themselves to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to work in terms of pedagogy. So that was one of the more simple ones. It's one of the shorter applied digital skills lessons. It's a really good one to start with. And all the details are right there. The students just followed it through. When it came to the history stuff, my class and Teddy Roosevelt, then I directed them to some specific sources if they had trouble. Do you want me to keep rolling?
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
All right. So the second one I think is worth talking about here is that I did a lesson titled Research and Develop a Topic. And the Research and Develop a Topic, I wasn't really sure how to use it because I look at the lessons. It has lesson one inside of the activity. It has multiple lessons. And sometimes the lessons are all about coding, and coding is super cool, but I'm also worried sometimes about how much time it's going to take for me to hit my content. So for inside the research and development activity, lesson one was testing for credibility, which was a lot of fun. And it had extensions I didn't plan on. I had my students go in and create a fake news article with a classmate And so they had some fun, and they learned tricks that are used by online sources today to get our attention and get us to read something that may not be factual. So they learned about that, and a month later, just last week, I had my students, we were talking about yellow journalism, again, a Teddy Roosevelt time period topic, which is a fake news content area. And we were able to reflect back on testing for credibility, and we learned about how for the Spanish-American War, they weren't using credible news sources because they were trying to sell papers, and they were able to reflect on their own activity they had done with applied digital skills. I didn't plan on that, it just worked out. What I had done with that lesson more directly is I had them look at captains of industry, so Carnegie, Ford, JP Morgan, those guys, and create a paragraph about them. Now, in the lesson or in the activity, it talks about one paragraph and that's it. Well, I said, look, you're going to make a paragraph about each of these 4 people. So I remixed it a little bit and said, okay, there's going to be 4 paragraphs, and I asked them also to cite their sources. Now, the citing of sources is addressed in the activity, but because my students are in grade 8, they're 14 years old, 13 years old, they need to kick up their citations a little bit. So I had them use an extension called Apogee 2. And Apogee 2 helped them to create an MLA citation. And I said, look, this is how it works. I showed them how it worked and said, where Google asks you to cite your sources, I want that source cited as a proper MLA source instead of just a URL. So that was just an example of paying attention to what was asked in the Applied Digital Skills lesson, and then modifying it for content and my grade level.
Okay.
The third one I thought I would share is a little bit geekier. Chris, earlier you showed the Choose Your Own Adventure one, which has always been a personal fave. It reminds me of 17 years ago when I was so happy to find a PowerPoint template for Jeopardy where I could change the questions and answers, because that's basically what the Choose Your Own Adventure is doing. It's having slides communicate within each other, which in terms of order of operations, it's also a form of coding. So what I did with that is I was teaching immigration with my students in 1900, and I wanted them to look at the process of an immigration inspector and how they would bring people through Ellis Island into the United States. So I asked the students to watch one lesson in Choose Your Own Adventure. So instead of the whole Choose Your Own Adventures, 3 or 4 lessons, they watched one lesson, which was the directions for how to create those slides and make them communicate. And by having them do that, the students were looking at one skill that I was going to take. And so Chris is popping up here the whole lesson. If anybody is interested, the entire lesson was my Ellis Island hackathon. It includes a Google Expeditions tour. We used lucid charts to make dichotomous trees, which we then applied to the Choose Your Own Adventure process. And there's a game in there as well. And then by the end of it, students created an app. So I showed them by using the Choose Your Own Adventure skill set listed in lesson 3, you can actually make a app on an iPad or a phone because you're making a Google slide deck. And a slide deck, of course, is online. So in my blog post that Chris is sharing here, I also gave directions about how to forced push a preview so that the display appears and functions like an app. So it was a geeky remix. My students absolutely loved it. They loved the user testing. We got to talk about message design principles, about how one button on one page should look similar if it's the same action on the next page. So it lent itself to some kind of cool conversations that I wouldn't normally be able to have in a social studies classroom. But it also gave the students a more detailed knowledge of the immigration process, which is directly related to my content.
That's really cool. That is really cool, actually. I hadn't seen that yet.
Yeah, it's pretty geeky. If anyone is interested and they get stuck, please reach out, because I've made a few tutorials on it, and there's a few things on my blog post about this. I've called it a school app, and the process I I came up with because I was working with a school that wanted an app, and they were asking me if I knew any app developers. And I said, well, we can just kind of hack the Google Slides process and make a web app. So that's what we've made.
That's fun. Excellent. All right. What else? What else do we have?
Well, those are my three that I've done this year so far. So we're in early December, and I've used these. Some of them I've given multiple days on, and now I'm projecting what's next. So next I'm teaching World War I, and so there's a Applied Digital Skills I was looking at today that I'm going to launch tomorrow, and that one is all about being a guide to an area and a local community site. So I'm going to take that and make it a guide to World War I sites. Have students build a spreadsheet, talk about the site, categorize them by battlefield or a significant event, maybe political, social event, and then they'll learn through that lesson about how to send it to a Google map. It's really cool. The formatting alone that students are learning is really pretty neat. I mean, when they copy and paste appropriately, the fonts are all messed up, and I think as adults we take that for granted about how to clear formatting, but we learn that the hard way. So it's kind of nice that kids learn that little tip, that little trick inside of Applied Digital Skills.
Very cool. Very cool.
The last one is my annual student fundraiser. We do a charity basketball game where students or teachers attempt to play basketball against each other. It's quite a humbling experience. But we raise money for a local community organization, and every year, well, for many years we've done it for one group, but we've been in the last couple of years allowing students to select. So last year was the SPCA. I think the students were heavily persuaded by Sarah McLaughlin's videos. If you've ever seen that for the SPCA, they make you cry. So they were all persuaded to go that way. So this year we'll see how it goes, but that particular Applied Digital Skills walks through the whole process in greater detail and covering more topics than I would have thought to cover if I was to make up a unit about it.
Very cool. That's very cool. I really love your remixes. It just shows your level of creativity.
Well, I don't know. I'm having a good time.
Well, okay, so all of it must not go perfect for you. I mean, it sounds like it, but what have been some of the challenges you've faced when using this with your students?
So some of the challenges are I have opened up an Applied Digital Skills and started watching the videos, and I can sometimes get stuck in a rut at a Google defined lesson, and a choose your own adventure is a perfect example. As a history teacher, sure, that could be fun, but I don't have a use for really right now in a pertinent content for that. I could, but I don't want to make one. I don't want to change my content to fit a lesson. I want the lesson to fit my content.
Mm-hmm.
So I watch these videos and I have to stop and pause them and think, okay, what do I want to achieve? What's my objective? What's the knowledge I want my students to gain? And is there a skill that can be adopted with that or integrated with that? So sometimes I get stuck in a rut. You can do a whole lesson on Applied Digital Skills without even logging into Google. So I've done that with students where I just post the link and they just go through the lesson and click next and watch it. And it's worked fine. But if I don't have them join a class, which Applied Digital Skills gives you the ability to make like a mini class, kind of like Google Classroom, those classes are really powerful because you can track which videos they've watched. So if a student skips a video and they raise their hand and be like, I don't understand how to do this, I could be able to look at their account and see which videos they've seen. If they haven't even watched the video, I would know to tell them to go back. However, what I have been doing with these three examples is just have them go right to the lesson, and I've skipped that login process, so I'm not able to track which videos they've seen. Mm-hmm. I'm only able to kind of in a formative manner or kind of spot check what they're doing.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Well, what about finding time? How do you find time? Especially, there's just so much that needs to be accomplished in the classroom.
This is creative time for me, actually. I mean, the one I'm looking at today, I spent 10 minutes looking at a guide to an area. That's going to save me 80 minutes of class time doing that lesson.
Excellent. So you're buying yourself time.
What's that?
You're buying yourself time.
Oh, I definitely, without a doubt, without a doubt, because I don't need to be standing in front of the room every second that they're watching an applied digital skill. I can be available as a guide on the side. So I don't need to be the sage up there standing there. I can be walking around, standing in the back of the room, or maybe using my Chrome learning management tool where I can see their devices, whatever. I'm buying time, definitely. The times that they recommend are actually really good. I have to admit I was a little bit arrogant about them, thinking, oh no, it's not going to take my students that long. They'll get through it way faster. Yeah, I shot myself in the foot with that one, particularly in the research one. I thought writing one paragraph would take them a lot less time than Google said, and the Google lesson on applied digital skills was actually spot on, and I had to adjust.
Perfect. Well, that's good. That's good to know. Any last tips for teachers who might or just getting started?
I would dive in. I really think the resume one is a real nice one to start with. Students love talking about themselves like anybody. So give them a chance to start going through it. Watch what they do. Walk around the room. The greatest user experience test is to watch the user work. So open up one of those videos. Tell them to use closed captioning. It helps with their vocabulary as well. And watch how they use it. Watch their speed. Talk to them about it. And I think you'd be surprised at how cool it is. And once you get going on one of these, I have no doubt you'll want to do more.
I'm going to open the floor up. Let's see. I'm gonna open up a few other people in here and allow them to talk if they would want. Fun thing about Zoom, which we've switched platforms over from YouTube Live, is that we can allow other people to talk if they want to.
Sweet.
So I figured I'd do that. Feel free to not turn on your camera if you don't want. But what questions do you all have for Mr. Shippee here?
That's how the no.
All right, can you hear me all right?
We can hear you
Hi.
perfect.
Okay, good. You caught me. I was not expecting to be on video.
Oh, I didn't realize the video was prompted. Usually it's just supposed to be audio. So sorry.
That's all right, but I did catch it real fast. No, it's okay. But I was actually typing a question about how, or just a comment about it seems like the flexibility of these lends itself for us to differentiate for our diverse learners, especially those with, kind of significant language challenges and reading challenges. Have you experienced any particular, accommodation needs, things like that, that you could adjust for and give some examples of that?
Yeah. So in my two of my classes, I have students with who are in accelerated advanced math and students who are reading at a first grade level, and they're in grade 8 in one room. So in that room, when I launch an applied digital skills, I'm able to please just about everybody. I intentionally give a minimum of what lessons I want done in the applied digital skills. The lesson that I mentioned about fake news, for example, what was it called? Research and develop a topic. That has a whole nother lesson where they can learn about writing script, which is super cool. So that's a great thing for students who are excelling and speeding through. You can say, okay, just keep going. It's not going to hurt anything. My students who need more support, I'm able to be right next to them to show them the closed captioning, which again helps with literacy and vocabulary. And also they can rewind the video and watch it over and over and over. The videos give descriptions of not only a talking head, but also the activity occurring. So they can watch where the mouse goes and where you click and mirror that with their device.
Another thing I'll add to that, let me see if I can pull it up here. If anybody hasn't seen the extension, let me go to the Chrome Web Store. So what we've been recommending as a supplement to the resources contained in there with the videos, is it the Google Training extension? Do you remember what that's called, Micah?
G Suite. There it is. Yep.
Yep. So this is an added to our AppSki one. And so what this does, and this is really, really helpful for students. Let's see, once it loads, and it's product dependent. So when a student is working on a lesson that relates to slides, for example. They've watched the videos, they get stuck, or maybe they just want to do something like with their slide layout that they don't really know how to do. They can actually launch G Suite training, and it will show them topics related to Google Slides.
Yeah.
And in some cases, it's a video that's walking them through them. Other cases, it's an actual click-through scenario where it requires them to do something in order to progress through the tutorial. So I highly recommend that, because what it does, if they're in spreadsheets, the topics only relate to spreadsheets. They're in docs, only relates to docs. So it's an invaluable Chrome extension that gets added on to Google Drive and all the other products that connect to it. So even Google Classroom. Yeah. So I can't say nothing. And it's produced by Google, so it's automatically going to connect into the accounts. And
that's actually been around for like 5 or 6 years. My school bought it as a product called Synergize, yeah. And then Google purchased it. Now it's free. It's excellent. Very good.
Yeah. Fantastic resource to help in those kinds of scenarios where students may be, stuck independently, etc. Any other questions from Micah? Thank you for that, Nikki.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have another if.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, and I'm not sure who else joined us, but I do know that, and Bradley Brazel is my my teammate. We teach together. He's social studies this year. I am his ELA counterpart. I've bounced around between social studies and ELA over the years. Are you working with another teacher? Are you working, you mentioned the Mla Citations, which I love to hear. Are you working in this capacity with someone else?
I am teamed. I'm new to my team. I was, after 18 years, voluntold that I would teach grade 8. So this is new to me. So when I talk about trying new things out, the entire year is new. I taught 7th grade for 18 years. So that being new, my colleague that I'm working with, we've been talking about it. But when you work with somebody, as you and Brad probably know, it takes some time to understand each other's skill sets and where a match might be and how your curriculum could be a fit. You have an advantage that you've taught some social studies, so you probably understand where Brad is going, where other colleagues may not. Does that make sense? So I haven't yet.
Yes, that does make sense. You nailed it. So, well, maybe that'll be something that we can explore, because, even going back to the resume writing, when we study when we do a living history museum project later in the year, and I see that just clicking with the resume project, and then of course with my writing standards and all of that just seems to blend so well. So you're definitely making my wheels spin.
Perfect.
Sweet, doing our job.
Excellent. Any other questions for Micah or myself? Got a couple things to plug here, and then we'll give away some prizes.
Sweet.
Everybody loves prizes, right? Okay, so once again, session resources, for those that might have missed it, are located at that URL. Micah, would you pop that into the chat once again, just in case someone missed it earlier?
Sure. Yep.
There's a link to a Google form that will populate our spreadsheet that we'll draw from. We're going to use a resource called Ninja Picker to draw winners. At the end here, we'll be giving away online course and some access to some of our EdTechTeam books, so our publishing division. And you can always refer back to these slide resources later as well. So getting started with applied digital skills, we have a link directly right there, g.co/applied digital skills, or the link below at edtech.team, applied digital skills. You can sign up as an instructor, get started really quickly. The primary things you'll need are at least a computer for students and a set of headphones. Although we've seen a lot of scenarios where students are in sets of 3, 2 students are guiding a project, 1 student's actually on the keyboard, actually doing the typing, and then students rotate. So there's a lot of ways that you can still accomplish these activities without having a one-to-one environment. I will say that headphones or earbuds are really great. You know, when you set up a unit or you set up a lesson, you can certainly do the first overview of the lesson or the unit whole class, just to introduce it and talk about it. But I find that as students start working through and progressing at different paces, having those earbuds or headphones on is going to make it a quieter environment for those that are easily distracted, like myself. So process simple. Once you get on that site, set up a class, review the lesson plans and add them to them, and then share a class code. So similar to Google Classroom, you have a code, students sign in one time, and they are added to your class. You can also push lessons from Applied Digital Skills, the actual class, and then have it drop into your Google Classroom if that's the format you use or the place where you post most of your assignments and lessons. Is that how do you do that, Micah? Are you using Classroom?
Yeah, I post the lesson right in Classroom.
Yep, perfect. So then with that, there are also lots of teacher resources located on the website under teacher resources, quick start guide, handouts. They had a quick back to school kit that had a lot of resources built into it, suggested starter lessons. So there's a lot of resources built in there. One thing that EdTechTeam has done as a partner of Google for Education and this program, we worked with Dr. Shippee and a number of other educators to build out subject-specific email courses that really highlight these examples. So how to integrate applied digital skills in the math classroom, or the English classroom, or the science, language arts, upper elementary, second language learners, you name it, and Dr. Shippee's course. So if you go to the URL listed there and sign up, you can choose one or you can select all of them and receive once a day, you'll receive a tip in your inbox with some practical applications connected to a very specific content area. I like to call it remixing because it's really taking these things that have been created for a very specific purpose and remixing it into something new, like you shared with us. Just a quick overview. So we have Monica Willis. She's out of South Carolina. I don't know if anybody knows Monica. Let's see. We have Amanda Alford out of Indiana. She's utilizing it in science. Natalia Lemoyne out of New York, out by you, working with second language learners and English language learners. And Rosalinda James, customizing for upper elementary. And then here we have Dr. Shippee, customizing applied digital skills lessons in the social studies classroom. So with that, what we're going to do now is we're going to do our drawing. So we're going to give away a free online course from our online course catalog. So our flexible EdTechTeam U on-demand courses, and we have a variety of courses to choose from. They are typically a 15-hour course, and if you don't want to take it because you are way overloaded with too much, you could pass that, gift that on to a friend who could use that. And we invite you to connect with us on a variety of platforms, on Twitter, at edtechteam.com, or in our Google Plus community. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, so join us there. So once again, make sure you complete that form. I'm going to take a look here at our spreadsheet, and we're going to draw off our winners. We have a high possibility for a winner in this group, which I love. I appreciate everyone that has shown up today. So let's see. Okay. The thing I don't like about Ninja Picker is that it sometimes takes longer than I want to clear the names. I don't know why it does that. Do you have a preferred name picker that you use, Micah?
I do. Let me see if I can find it.
A deck of cards with the students' names on it? Always a random one.
I like, here it is right here. It's random, yeah, it's random name picker. Oh no, this isn't the one. My bad. Let me look. I had it posted and I grabbed the wrong one.
Okay, so I'm gonna run this here.
It's the one that has the camel. There it is. Got it.
Okay, so I'm gonna run our name pickers, and here we go. Selecting Brad. Brad is the winner of an online course of your choice. What I'll do is I will go ahead and send you an email after this with the details on that. So I'll introduce you to our online team. I'll get you taken care of. And then let's see here. I'm going to run the picker again. And let's see. Should be pretty. Alvina Green, you are going to be receive an email from me. You'll get to choose one of the books from our EdTechTeam Press catalog. And so look for an email from me. We'll need your mailing address, and we'll get that actually sent out to you, to your home address, or to your school, or wherever you prefer. And then, Nikki, you won one as well. So how about that? Everybody wins. Everybody wins. So
Perfect.
we appreciate you all showing up. This will be recorded, or is being recorded, so it'll be posted onto our YouTube channel. On the session follow-up notes that you should see there, we have a YouTube playlist with a number of applied digital skills webinars. Once the recording is processed, this recording on social studies will be added to that list. So we absolutely encourage you to share that with others, or share some of the other ones that are there. We can also request a PD certificate for the hour that you spent with us, or close to an hour. And also we offer workshops and all sorts of things. So check us out if you've not interacted with us before. We do lots of great events and customized professional development across the country and in other countries. So with that, I'm gonna say thank you to Dr. Shippee. I'm gonna thank you to everybody who showed up. Thank you for the great questions, Nikki. And thanks for prototyping or testing out Zoom with us for a new webinar format. We like the fact that we can push into different locations, and we can access attendees and let them talk, which is a totally different experience than we get on YouTube Live Direct. So, so with that, thank you all for joining us, and we wish you nothing but a great evening. Let us know, share with us on Twitter, or share with us via email if you end up using this in your classroom before the end of the year. That'd be fantastic to hear from you.
Cool.
All right. Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you.